My brother betrayed me, destroyed my family, and then came crawling back when I got the entire inheritance. I let him talk just long enough to reveal what he really wanted and who sent him. What I discovered after that changed everything. I used to think mothers couldn't have favorites, but by the time I was 10, I knew mine did. David was the golden boy, 2 years older, taller, louder, always in motion. If he threw a ball, Mom clapped. If I brought home an A, she glanced, nodded, and asked what David was doing. It wasn't cruelty exactly, just absence, like I was a photograph on the fridge she didn't hang herself. Dad worked long days at a transmission shop off Central Avenue. When he came home, he'd kiss Mom on the cheek, nod at us, and disappear into the garage or his recliner. Not unkind, just tired. David had a way of taking up space. He told stories that weren't true, and people laughed anyway. He'd shove me on the stairs and say, "Quit being dramatic," when I cried. One time he locked me in the basement for an hour. Mom said I must have misunderstood, that David wouldn't do that. So I stopped telling her things. Instead, I built things. I'd sit in the garage and wire together old radios, unscrew dead flashlights, try to make sense of the inside of things. I think part of me hoped Dad might notice. He didn't. David got a new bike for Christmas. I got a sweater. I told myself it didn't matter, that he just needed more attention, that maybe I was easier to forget because I didn't cause trouble. But late at night, lying awake in our narrow shared room, I remember wondering, what if I did? What if I made noise? Would they see me then? Teenage years didn't make David softer. They made him stronger and meaner. By 14, he'd started lifting weights in the garage, mostly to impress girls and dominate the football team. He strutted through the house like he owned it, took whatever he wanted. My stuff, my food, my space. Once he crashed my bike and left it in the rain. When I confronted him, he laughed and said, "It was a piece of junk anyway." Mom told me not to pick fights. Dad looked at the floor. But the worst came the day he pinned me to the hallway wall, both fists flat against my chest. I don't remember what I said to trigger it. Something small. He sneered, leaned in, and called me invisible. That word did something to me. I snapped. I don't even remember pulling my fist back, just the dull, satisfying thud of it hitting his jaw. He stumbled. I expected him to swing back, but instead he held his cheek like he couldn't believe I'd touched him. Mom screamed from the kitchen, but then I heard something I hadn't heard in years. Dad's voice, sharp, clear, final. "That's enough, David." He walked in, looked only at my brother, and repeated it. "You touch him again, you're out of this house. Do you understand me?" David didn't answer. He just stormed off, and for the first time in my life, my father looked at me like I existed. It was small, but it was something. Leaving for college felt like stepping into real oxygen. I got into the University of Minnesota on a partial scholarship for mechanical engineering. Not a fancy school, but it was 3 hours from home, and that was enough. I packed in silence. Mom didn't say much. David laughed and asked how long I'd last. I never looked back. The first semester was quiet. I kept my head down, studied hard, fixed people's bikes for beer money. I liked how no one knew me. No one expected anything. I could just exist. Then came Karen. She was in my intro physics class, sat 2 rows over, always wore blue, took notes like her life depended on it. We ended up in the same lab group. At first, it was just jokes about caffeine and circuit boards. Then it was study sessions. Then long talks after midnight in the stairwell by the vending machines. She saw me, not the quiet kid, not the second son, just me. We kissed under the stadium bleachers in the first snow of November. It was clumsy, honest, real. When she found out she was pregnant the following spring, we were scared, but not broken. I dropped out after second year, took a full-time job in St. Paul repairing HVAC systems. We got married that summer in a courthouse with my dad in a wrinkled suit and Karen's mom crying through the vows. I thought we'd made it. A life away from shadows. For a little while, we had. It started with her phone. One night after dinner, she left it on the counter, screen up, unlocked. She was in the bathroom brushing our daughter's teeth, humming a lullaby like nothing in the world was wrong. I wasn't snooping, but the screen lit up, a message. I can't stop thinking about Saturday, your mouth, your voice. D. I stared at it for a long time. D. At first I thought, David? Number no way. Different D had to be. But the pit opened in my stomach anyway, because she hadn't mentioned Saturday. The next day, I checked the calendar. She'd said she was taking Ellie to her sister's place. I remembered staying home to fix the gutters. I remembered Karen texting, Ellie's asleep, everything's good. I remembered believing her. That night I asked casually, how was Saturday? She blinked. Fine, long, Ellie was fussy. I nodded. You take any pictures? She paused just a second too long. Didn't really think to. The next few days, I became someone else, quiet, focused, watching. Karen started getting more private with her phone, turned it face down, took it with her to the bathroom, started smiling at texts she wouldn't explain. I told myself it was stress, marriage, the normal cracks. Until one night when she fell asleep early, I opened her laptop. She never changed the password. She trusted me. Or maybe she forgot I still existed in her digital life. Her email was open, and in her archived folder, a thread. You still taste like last time. You shouldn't sneak into the guest room again. Too risky. You're crazy. Only for you. All signed, D. I clicked the sender info. David.Rayner84@gmail. I stopped breathing. There were photos, too. Nothing graphic, just enough. Her in a towel. Her feet beside his on hotel carpet. A blurry mirror selfie. Him holding her from behind, shirtless. I closed the laptop. Sat there for what felt like hours, just breathing, or trying to. The next morning I made coffee like always, kissed Ellie's forehead, watched Karen tie her hair up. She smiled at me. That same smile she gave when we first kissed under falling snow. And I felt sick. That evening, after putting Ellie to bed, I stood in the hallway and asked, how long has it been? She turned. What? You and David. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. She sat down, hands trembling. Mitch. I waited. She whispered, almost a year. The room tilted. My pulse rang in my ears. Why? I asked. She didn't answer. Was it just sex? No, she said too fast. No, it's not like that. Then what is it? She broke, started sobbing, repeating my name like it could rewind time. I walked out, got in my truck, drove nowhere. Just needed to breathe without choking. We hadn't had dinner together in months. Not since Mom's birthday, where David showed up late and left early. But this night was different. I called them all, said it was important, told them I needed to talk. Karen knew. She didn't argue, just showed up with puffy eyes and silence. Dad sat at the head of the table, arms folded. Mom filled water glasses like we were pretending to be normal. David came in last, all swagger and false charm. What's the occasion? He asked. I reached into my coat and pulled out a folder, set it on the table. No one moved. I opened it, slid out 2 printed photos. One was the hotel selfie, the other a screen grab of the email thread. Karen looked down. David looked annoyed. This what this is about? He said. Seriously? You slept with my wife, I said, and he shrugged. We're adults. No, Dad said, quiet, controlled. You're a disgrace. David laughed almost reflexively. Don't act like you care, Dad. You never did. But Dad stood up. I made mistakes, he said. But you betrayed your own brother. He turned to me. I don't know how to fix this, but I know who raised you right. Then he turned to David and said, clear as crystal, you're not welcome in this house anymore. David stood. You're choosing him? Dad didn't answer. He just sat down again, hands trembling. David left without another word. Karen sobbed. And for once, Mom didn't defend anyone. The divorce moved fast. Karen didn't contest it. Her lawyer sent quiet responses. No theatrics, no apologies. Just signatures and stamped envelopes. What dragged was the paternity test. I didn't want to do it at first. I thought, what difference does it make? She's my daughter. I raised her. She called me daddy before she could say her own name. But something in me needed to know. The results came in on a Tuesday, not mine. No margin of error, no room for doubt. Just a lab result that knocked the breath out of me. I stared at the line on the paper, and suddenly everything else vanished. Baby photos, bedtime stories, first steps, all of it washed away in one sentence. Karen begged me not to walk away, said, "She doesn't know. You're all she has." And I love that little girl, I still do. But I couldn't be near Karen and not feel like I was drowning in every moment she lied to me. So I left. I left the house, the city, the name Dad. I wrote a letter to Ellie, told her I loved her, that none of it was her fault, that maybe someday if she wanted to find me, I'd be there. I haven't sent it, and I don't know if I ever will. Now I work days, come home to quiet. Sometimes that quiet feels like punishment. Sometimes it feels like peace. Depends on the day. It was late fall when Dad called me, said he'd made some changes to the will, that he didn't want regret to outlive him. Everything, the house, savings, old truck he kept in the shed, was coming to me. I didn't ask for it. A week later, David showed up at my apartment. He looked different. Hair longer, clothes cheaper. Still tried to smile like nothing ever broke. "Can we talk?" he asked. I didn't say no. We sat on the stoop. He said he'd lost his job, something about accusations, said Karen wouldn't speak to him, said he didn't have enough for rent. "I messed up," he whispered. I looked at him for a long time. "This isn't about money," I said. He nodded, eyes red, I know. But then he asked anyway, just a little, just enough to get him through the month. Said I was his brother, said family should forgive. I thought about the summer we built a tree house together, mostly him bossing, me hammering. Thought about the bike he stole, the lie he told, the silence he left behind. "I forgive you," I said, "but I don't owe you." He blinked. "So you're really gonna let me fall?" "You already did." I stood. He didn't follow. I went inside, didn't lock the door, but he never knocked again. I haven't spoken to Karen in almost a year. She sends updates through her sister sometimes, says Ellie's growing fast, that she asks about me, that she keeps a photo of me next to her bed. I still haven't mailed the letter. Dad's health is fading. He calls less, sleeps more. But when we talk, it's honest. No pretending. Just the kind of silence that means, "I'm glad you're still here." Mom apologized once on my birthday, said she didn't realize what she'd done to us. I said I wasn't angry anymore. That was true. David moved to Florida, last I heard, working warehouse jobs, in and out of people's lives. He sends Mom postcards with no return address. Sometimes I look out the kitchen window and think about what could have been, if we'd been different people, if someone had stepped in sooner, if I'd spoken louder. But I didn't, and they didn't, and here we are. I've started fixing up an old boat on weekends, just a little thing, barely runs, but there's something peaceful about it. Wood, salt, metal, they don't lie. I take it out sometimes early in the morning before the lake fog lifts. Just me, no phone, no echoes. And in those moments, I don't miss anything. Not her, not him, not even what we almost were. Just breathe. Then water. And finally, peace.